Falcon is a record-breaking wing coaster at Wuxi, Sunac land. Standing just shy of 200 feet, it is the world's tallest wing coaster. At 118 kilometers an hour or 73 miles an hour, it is the world's fastest wing coaster. Finally, it is tied with Parrot Coaster at Chimelong Ocean Kingdom as the world's longest wing coaster at 1,278 meters or 4,193 feet long. Is all that enough to also make it the best wing coaster in the world? Find out in this review. The wing coaster is one of B&M's most popular models in recent years. Since the first one opened in 2011, 19 have been built. Of those, 8 went to China, and one of them was the tallest, fastest, and longest one ever built. I just want to note that for this review, I will not be counting the Intamin wing hypercoasters, as they also have seats directly on top of the track in the center, which makes them not true wing coasters in my opinion. Falcon is an imposing ride. It is a short walk from the park's entrance, but when you get there and stand under it, it looks absolutely enormous. The supersized elements tower over you, making you feel like an ant. This ride also boasts some extremely impressive theming. The layout travels in and around a spectacular-looking fake mountain, and the entrance is a large rock column. It is simply stunning, especially when you are right under it. On both my visits, Wuxi Sunac land has been extremely quiet. As such, Falcon was almost always a walk-on, with the exception of a large school group on my second visit. Though if there are many students from the school group in line, you can request priority and skip the entire queue, which is certainly nice considering I've only ever seen Falcon on one train, and the school kids tended to goof around and not listen to instructions, slowing down the dispatches. At least that singular train has a pretty good capacity, with 7 rows of 4 for a total of 28 seats. It is also shaped like a bird in the middle, which is quite fitting considering the theme. The ride's restraint is a vest harness, which is much more comfortable than B&M's older versions like what you'll find on Parrot Coaster because it will not crush your collarbone if you get stapled. Falcon begins with the lift hill straight out of the station. At the top, you go down the wing-over drop. Prior to the opening of Spitfire at Six Flags Qiddiya City, this was in fact the tallest inversion in the world, beating Steel Curtain at Kennywood by less than a foot. In front, it has some insane hang time from almost 200 feet up. Due to how drawn out the inversion is, the back still gets some good hang time. At the bottom, you get some decent positive Gs. You also reach your top speed of 118 kilometers per hour here, and you can really feel that wind up front. Then you glide through a 0G roll. Due to the sheer scale of the element, it takes a lot longer to ride through than on other smaller wing coasters. As such, the laterals are not quite as noticeable, but you get even more hang time. The next valley once again gives some good positive Gs. That leads into the Immelman, my least favorite inversion on the ride. There isn't much hang time, and the flip also doesn't have that much whip. That leads into an S-hill. The right has good sustained floater airtime, while the back left has some light whip as you are pulled down the drop. At this point, you are on top of that fake mountain. This leads into an airtime hill, which has a much larger drop off the mountain. This has weak sustained floater airtime anywhere on the train, though it is a bit better in the back. The next element is an overbanked turn which has some mild positive Gs but not much else. That is followed by another more low to the ground overbank that goes through the fake mountain. This has slightly better forces but still could have been profiled more tightly in my opinion. You then exit the mountain and turn up into the mid-course brake run, giving some decent positive Gs. The transition out of the turn also has some airtime on the front left side. Now, on my 2 visits, the mid-course brake run trimmed the train differently. On my first visit, it only slowed you slightly, while on the second visit, it brought you to a near stop. If you don't get trimmed much, the drop off the mid-course gives some strong floater airtime in the back. If you get trimmed harder, you'll only get weak airtime in the back. No matter how little you are trimmed though, the final barrel roll is taken very slowly and has great hang time. It is also partially in the mountain, which gives some good near-miss effects. That is followed by a mostly forceless turn into a slight ascent. If the mid-course wasn't trimming hard, you may get some very weak airtime up front. Then you hit the final brake run, ending this record-breaking ride. What is my favorite seat on Falcon? If the mid-course is trimming hard, I prefer the front for the sense of speed. Otherwise, it becomes much harder to say because the drop off the mid-course gives good airtime in the back. Otherwise, the forces don't differ much between the rows because of how drawn out the ride is. The left and right side also each have their moments, such as the S-hill on the right side and the entry into the mid-course on the left, but they mostly cancel each other out in my opinion. Overall, Falcon is a mixed bag. Its pacing is not the best, as half the elements don't do a whole lot, such as the Immelman and all of those turns before the mid-course brake run. It may be over 4,000 feet long, but it doesn't really use all that track to its fullest potential. This in fact makes it my least favorite B&M wing coaster, even over the ones with a bad rattle like Forest Predator or Parrot Coaster, because those ones have far better layouts and pacing, leading to a better ride overall. I also wish all the airtime moments were a bit stronger. You only get airtime on the right side of the train on the S-hill after the Immelman, and the following straight hill is also quite weak. And the drop off the mid-course brake run is really dependent on how hard it trims you. However, the elements that do hit are great. The first few inversions at the start of the ride feel absolutely giant, and the final barrel roll also has some great hang time. The ride is also very comfortable with the newer rest restraints that do not crush your collarbone and it being very smooth. Lastly, you cannot deny that the ride looks spectacular with the enormous fake mountain and highly detailed theming. Although it may not be my favorite coaster, it is a genuinely great crowd pleaser. So what would I rate Falcon? I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. This might just be one of the most visually stunning coasters out there, but the layout and forces left a decent amount to be desired. Still, this is an enjoyable ride which is definitely worth trying out if you are a fan of wing coasters or beautiful, well-themed rides. With all that said, what are your thoughts on Falcon? Have you been on it? Do you find it slightly overrated like I do? I would love to hear all of your thoughts in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this coaster review, and I would be very grateful if you can leave a like and subscribe, since more videos will be coming soon on the channel. Thanks for watching.